like rain on an old tin roof, bring stories alive with a soothing truth. In pages he weaves a world so light, the stars lean close to kiss the night. His voice lulls hearts and restless mind, lost in tales where dreams unwind. The book feather reads as shadows rise, his words are calm as lullabies. So turn the page and close your eyes, float where the quiet whispers lie. Across the oceans the story's tide, relax and let the world subside. A thousand accents the moonlight bends, in words no borders, no distance ends. Worlds collide in his gentle tone, a whisper makes you feel at home. Each line he shares feels like coming back to a hearth of words in the silent black. From novels deep to poems that sway, he reads the night into the day. So turn the page and close your eyes, float where the quiet whispers lie. Across the oceans the story's tide, relax and let the world subside. A thousand accents the moonlight bends, in words no borders, no distance ends.
Noise, 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 honk.
Relax and let the world subside. A voice like rain on an old tin roof, brings stories alive with a soothing truth. In pages he weaves a world so light, the stars lean close to kiss the night. His voice lulls hearts and restless mind, lost in tales where dreams unwind. The book feather reads as shadows rise, his words are calm as lullabies. So turn the page and close your eyes, float where the quiet whispers lie. Across the oceans the story's tide, relax and let the world subside. A thousand accents the moonlight bends, in words no borders, no distance ends. Worlds collide in his gentle tone, a whisper makes you feel at home. Each line he shares feels like coming back to a hearth of words in the silent black. From novels deep to poems that sway, he reads the night into the day. relaxes, the moonlight bends. In words, no borders, no distance ends. Across the oceans, the story's tide. Relax and let the world subside.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Giggity. All right.
Seems quiet. Too quiet.
I'm Batman. Gotham is never safe without me. What time is it? It's 7 o'clock. Okay, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
You can attach towers? Shut up.
Impromptu performance this evening, which I must say was indeed a welcome distraction. Thank you, Mr. Holmes. You're very kind. This is going to be funny.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Kay's here. Kay's here. Kay is here. Kay is in my stream. Kay's here. Oh my god. Kay. Hi, Kay. Hi. Okay, stay calm. Breathe. Hi, Kay.
Yeah, so something just fell upstairs. I'm sure everything's fine, though. Good evening, everybody. It is a pleasure to see you. Man, chat already be popping. Trying to keep me on my toes. I can tell. It's working. Thanks. Like Pop Rocks. Yes, indeed. Jesse, congratulations on claiming first place. Well deserved. Well deserved. Angelic, fabulous to see you as well. I hope you've had a fantastic day. Oh, and the book bunk. Right, you redeemed the daily book bunk. So here you go. I'm learning to not hit myself quite as hard. Maya, hi. Welcome in. Renato. Johnny. Hitting me with the honk during the literal beginning. Unbelievable. Beeve. What's up, sir? Kay. Lovely to see you. Yeah. I made a deer hoist that you put in your hitch? Ah. Do I know what that is? Deer hoist that you put in your hitch. I got nothing. I literally got nothing. Speaking of books, I thought you would find this cool. Dee is going to be volunteering at the Library of Congress this week. Ooh. That, I imagine, is going to be immense. Because that is that's a large library. But that's cool. To hold up the deer. Oh. I see. So you raise them up. Got it. Thank you for that little nudge there. She's excited. She signed up months ago. Fantastic. Yeah, that would be cool. I I'll be waiting to hear how it goes. 13th is open deer season. Lovely. So you may be wondering what's going on, behind me in the background. Not literally behind me, but on screen. Like, That is the library wall of books with everyone that has subscribed. So I realize some of you have been blocked because of various elements, but I promise you're there. And I changed the color of the mods to give them some special attention. So like you can see Corgi right there, part of Mama's House Gaming. She's chopped off right there. But yeah, they're all there, and it was a good little time putting that together. Oh, I forgot to join the puzzle. Hold on. Here's your almost human puzzle. I'm just kidding. It's not really. I actually think it's a cake. I can't tell. It looks like a cake. It kind of reminds me of that show, Is It Cake? Which there's like 3 seasons of. But anyway, yeah. I have other screens with it on, which I think I've set it up so that you can see it's smaller, but you can see the whole image. So every so often I will check the list and add and remove as needed, but if you personally sub or resub, your name will be on the shelf. Originally, we were going to try and put names on the spines of the books, but finding the image that would have made that work was pretty tricky, plus getting the names in there vertically, it's kind of a nightmare. So instead, you're just on the shelf in some way, shape, or form. So there you go. Oh, I got a couple of messages here. Okay. Wonderful. Let's see. What else? Is there anything else? Why not turn the image, add the names, then rotate it back? The way that it was set up using my video software, I don't know if that would have worked. So yeah, it wouldn't quite have made itself efficient in that way. I was even thinking about a redeem maybe to see the bookshelf. Yeah, I mean, I could even just literally re-add the image right now. And then just bam, fit to screen. So there you go. You are all part of the novel bookshelf, which is now the new name. I still have to actually figure out where to put that. But yeah, there it is in all its glory. Kablam. All right. Random ideas I know.
Hello there.
Hello there. I saw it. You guys didn't. We're on the wrong screen. Speaking of, let's just move to the other screen, shall we? Here we are. Johnny, thank you for the resub. Officer Johnny. I really wish I could get that as a sound clip, because I would totally use it. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that. And now your name will get added for next stream. But first, we spin. Nope. Gosh darn it. Oh, starting, what is today? Today's Sunday. So starting on Tuesday, thinking about that wheel, I also need to add, now we're at 9 instead of 8. I'm going to start removing wedges from the wheel because it is taking far too long for someone just to land on the wedge, okay? Ridiculous, guys. Do better, all right? I realize you have no control, neither do I, over the wheel, but do better. Also, Johnny, I looked into your suggestion about the whole percentage, like landing, not landing. This wheel is through Stream Elements, and there isn't a setting for that at all. There is no manipulation, if you will, of said wheel. So I can't actually do anything. Yeah. Which means it's completely 100% fair because of that. So there you go. And I think the only other new channel point redemption, or the newest, it's not technically new anymore, is the bench press redeem, which does have a cooldown. So don't thinking you're gonna make me pass out on myself or something, because that's not gonna happen. And see, yeah, look, subscriber bookshelf right there. So thank you for being on the bookshelf. It means a lot to me. Okay. Oh, I forgot to take the lid off of my tea. I added a wee bit more milk than I usually do to make it a little bit extra creamy, you know? Just a wee bit. But I forgot to take the lid off, so I need to let that cool down just a small amount. Oh, that's right. Jesse, thank you. Shorty, hi. Why did that not go off? We should have heard a hi there. Did I get desynced? Yes, I did. Stupid sound alerts. My apologies.
Hi there.
There it is.
Hi.
Shorty, welcome in. Mad Locust. And yes, down here, I have a package. A package. Someone from the stream not gonna mention Jesse's name, was very kind and gifted me some goodies. Ooh, yeah. And I'm gonna open them right now so we can all take a look and see. So this is the first one. Just threw the box on the ground. This is the 20 ounce. You want to see? Wow. Hold on, I'll show you. Has that new mug smell. It's got a very firm opener, I guess, for lack of better words. Push the sliding vein and press down the... Well, yeah, you think? Jeez. So yeah, this is pretty cool. 20 ounces is amazing. It's so big. And then in the other box, we have, I think this is its baby brother or something. There should be a card. I'm falling. No, I'm not. I see a gift receipt that says, enjoy your gift. Is that what you're talking about? That's not what it's supposed to say? Well, damn. I am sorry, but that's what it says. Let me just double check. Hello? Nope, there's nothing else in here. You're welcome to happy belated birthday and early Merry Christmas. Okay. Maybe it ran out of characters. I mean, it seems like you should be able to put quite a bit in there. Anyway, thank you very much for getting these. I can't wait to get them washed and start using them in my day-to-day. Especially if I can double fist. I don't think that's gonna work out well. We're gonna set these. I'm gonna set them down here. Put them back in their respective boxes. When's your birthday? It's actually January 31st. That's not bad. It's a good cup of tea. It's not the best I've ever made, but it's good. Yes, it was a while ago. Yeah. Sorry, I was getting distracted. Anything else? I don't think so. Yeah, my son and I, we actually share the same day. He was born on my birthday. So I don't actually have a birthday anymore, which is fine with me, to be honest. Because, getting older and stuff, it's crazy. Christini forcing, I just hydrated. You share a birthday with your sister, but you're not a twin. Well, that's cool. I mean, what are the odds, right? Parents got freaky around the same time each year. Tasty. All right. 8 years apart. Wow. Anybody else in chat sharing a birthday with a family member? We are family. We are on chapter 2 because the last time we read, we got the prologue and chapter 1 done. Yes, we did. But now we're working on chapter 2. Chapter 2 is Wednesday, 22nd of February, 2102. They're in Gromden, Harpton, Maine. Now remember, it's a British author, nice lady. And again, if anyone wants the link to check out what we're reading, click that. And it will take you there. You're gonna get snacks and a drink, but first, bathroom. Thank you for sharing. Oh, marbles. God damn it, you're right. Jeez, I'm fine. I really am. I'm okay. Join. Start. Exclamation point play. All right. You thought it necessary that everyone know? I mean, it's like CBS cares. The more you know. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Taking time out of your weekend. The great news is I keep thinking to myself, oh, I'm going to go to work tomorrow. But no, I am not because it's a holiday. And yes, thank God for that. Rexter, good evening, sir. Good evening. All right. Chapter 2. Jay felt confused and groggy when he awoke. His body ached from top to toe, and his head throbbed from the hangover. Slowly, he opened his eyes and groaned as he tried to make sense of his surroundings. He was inside another disused, empty building similar to the last, but much smaller. He couldn't think how he ended up here. This was becoming a weird habit. It's Labor Day, 12 years ago, I landed in the US. Ah, well, happy anniversary. That's pretty cool. The realization hit him he wasn't alone. A girl was here. The one he tried to save. He turned to see her crouched beside him and found her hands were cradling his head, lifting it slightly from the floor. "Drink," she said, holding a bottle to his lips. Jay obeyed and took a deep drink, grateful for the water. She set his head back on the hard floor with care and moved back towards the door. It took a few minutes for Jay to come round to his senses. He took his time rolling onto his side and pushed himself into a sitting position. He groaned as the sharp pain in his side bit at him, and the girl reached into her bag and pulled out some pain relief medication. Ah, we do love some pain relief. Chew! Chew, chew. Good to see you. Take them, she said as she placed the pills next to the water bottle. Jay looked at the girl, then at the pills. Thanks, he said, pouring two pink tablets into his hand. It's probably ibuprofen. He renewed his focus as he took another long drink from the water bottle. He looked at the girl and asked, "What happened?" She didn't answer him. She only stared at him. "Did they hurt you?" She still didn't offer him an answer, so he asked again. "Those men, did they hurt you?" "No." "They just left?" He couldn't believe they hadn't tried to hurt her. She didn't answer him, and he let it go. Now remember, there were men that were catcalling and basically about to take advantage of her, and he stepped in and basically saved that from happening, or at least he hoped to, but in the meantime, got whooped. So, super. We have some friends over for some couch gaming, but I'm here lurking, you beautiful bastard. You know, I haven't had a good couch gaming session in a while. I hope you have fun. Firebeef taking first place in the first race. Well done, sir. Look at me in 6th. That is just despicable. All right. Race number 2, the brick, coming right up. Exclamation point, play to play. He inspected the neat stitching on his stomach. "Did you do this?" he asked her, impressed with her skills. "Yes." "Wow, thanks. Will I need to see a doctor, do you think? I can't tell how deep it is. It hurts like hell. Did it look deep to you?" "No, it's a surface wound. Not deep enough to cause any damage. Keep it clean and covered. It will heal." Jay pushed himself to his feet, and the girl seemed to tense with nerves. She stared at him with distrusting eyes, and he realized he must seem terrifying to her. It was hard to say how long he had been out cold, but moments before they met, she was being threatened by 2 men. She would no doubt feel very vulnerable enclosing herself in an empty room with a man she didn't know, no matter how injured he may be. Jay held out his hand to her and said, "My name's Jay. What's yours?" She made no move to shake his hand, and it hung, useless, in the air between them. "Adele?" she said after a long, strained silence. Jay couldn't help noticing how cold and abrupt her speech was. She was straight to the point, and there was no friendliness to her at all. He let his arm drop from the space between them. Relief and surprise filled him as he found his wallet, his identification, and his phone all still present. Even his watch was still attached to his wrist. This girl had helped him, maybe even saved his life, and she hadn't stolen from him. Yet there was no doubt in his mind that she was a cashier. "Dry, good to see you. How are you, sir?" "Thank you for helping me," he said. There was no answer. It made him question what terrible trauma she'd been through to leave her so withdrawn and despondent. He'd seen it before, many times with the girls that Tanya had helped. Some of them never made full recoveries. He was so grateful to her for one, saving his life, and 2, not stealing his possessions. And he felt sorry for her. She looked cold, and her clothes were damp, and she was barefoot, he noticed with sympathy. He cleared his throat and offered her a gentle smile, then said, "Look, I've got no cash, but I do have a home. Why don't you come with me and I'll get you warmed up? I'll dry your clothes and get you a hot meal?" She didn't move, and she continued to stare at him. He assumed she didn't trust him. "I'm a legitimate. I'm not lying. Here." He reached into his pocket and produced his identification. It had his full name, Jaden Powell, printed in bold, and his address underneath. "See? I live in Hellstain," he said, pointing to the address on his ID card. "I don't want to hurt you. I only want to help." The girl seemed to consider his offer. She didn't speak, but after a few seconds, she looked up at Jay and gave a slow nod of her head. Jay made deliberately slow movements as he approached the girl. She seemed unsure of him, and he didn't want to make her more uneasy than she already was. Just like when Jesse starts winning races. Interesting. Very interesting. But that's okay. There's more races to go. His body ached from the attack, and his side was sore from where the knife went in, but the painkillers she had given him had been effective in taking the edge off. Whatever those pills were, they were impressive. He opened the door and peered outside. There was no sign of the 2 men. "This way. Come on," he said, attempting to sound confident, but in truth he was trying to remember where he was and which direction was home. Once he'd found his bearings, he set off at a good pace. It surprised him how the pain had worn off to nothing more than a dull ache, and his hangover at ease too. Again, he wondered what was in those pills. I don't know what's in those pills, but it sounds like I need some. For, future use. I don't do hangovers. Nope. Been there, done that. No, thank you. I do lovely cups of tea. I do. Adele kept pace with him, but always walked a little behind, never at his side and never in front. Jay assumed she was still wary of him. It shocked him how she had agreed so readily to go with him. She must be desperate. She still made no effort to communicate with him, and he wondered if she was regretting her choice now and was looking for a way to get out of the situation. He'd never fully appreciated how hard it must be to be a cashier, and worse still, to be a female one. A large proportion of them had been abused in one way or another. The government didn't care about them, and the cash areas were lawless. The police were only required to help legitimate citizens. These poor girls had nobody to look out for them. Thinking back to the blank and expressionless look on her face when those 2 men were leering at her, it was obvious why she did not move or run away. These poor girls' upbringing makes them believe it's an unavoidable part of life, and it's all they are worth. I've only had one hangover, never again. Yeah, they're not fun. And some people are like, yeah, let's get drunk. Woo. Nope. No, thank you. There isn't a lot of point in fighting it. He hoped that wasn't the reason she had agreed to go with him. Perhaps she wondered if he would want something from her in return for his kindness. He made a few feeble attempts at conversation, but she didn't respond. He asked her if she lived in Gromden, and he asked about her family, if she had one, and where they were. But she kept her eyes down and only continued to walk as if she hadn't heard him speak. Jesse, winning 2 times in a row. And y'all thought I was the hacker. Yep. Yep, you thought it was me. To put it gently, I won't be shooting whiskey again. At least not 12. Blech. Nope. I don't even like whiskey. After that, and one more feeble attempt to reassure her he would not hurt her, he gave up. It was obvious this was going to be more difficult than he first thought, but he couldn't turn her away now. He kept thinking how afraid she must be, and how she needed his help. They were leaving the cash area now and entering a legitimate citizens area. Mo still considered it to be a poor area, but not cash poor. All the buildings were solid. Solid? They were solid. All the buildings were solid, and they all had running water and electricity. They all had internet access, and many of the people had cars. Jay noticed how jumpy the girl seemed. Every noise had her twitching. Her head lurched in sharp, jerking movements towards each sound, as if she was hearing the noises for the first time, and it made her look so odd. He wondered if maybe this was the first time she had ventured out of Gromden. Perhaps she'd never seen or heard traffic before. When she walked, she appeared almost robotic. There was no natural sway to her arms, and she held her shoulders back, keeping her upright in a perfect but abnormal-looking posture. He thought about how fear and anxiety do strange things to people. He hoped she would relax a little soon. As they headed across the streets, Jay came to an abrupt stop. Adele stopped just behind him, and her eyes narrowed as he turned to look at her. "You have no shoes," he said. She didn't seem to understand what he was getting at. "We're about to cross the boundary line to the nicer part of town. The law enforcers will be there to keep the cashers out. You need something on your feet." She looked at him, but did not answer. He began to take off his shoes and socks and handed her his socks. "Look, I know they're not exactly clean, or dry for that matter, but socks will draw less attention than bare feet." She took them without question or hesitation and slid them over her bare and dirty feet. If she found wearing a stranger's damp and sweaty socks in any way unpleasant, she certainly didn't show it to Jay. "I definitely would have. Nope." Blech. He had expected a small amount of resistance. He wouldn't have wanted to wear them if it was the other way around. In truth, they would grant her admission to a legitimate area, if she had a legitimate citizen to vouch for her. Yuck. Yeah, I know. Like, bleh. Makes you go brr inside. There were a multitude of reasons why a legitimate citizen may want to bring a cashier in, from cheap labor to adult entertainment, and as long as the legitimates were happy to take responsibility for them, that was fine. However, any trouble at all, and the legitimate citizen who vouched for them would be in a great deal of trouble with the law. But she was wet, scruffy, and had nothing on her feet, and he didn't want people to know she was a cashier in any case they thought he had bought her. It wasn't unusual for legitimates to buy cashier girls and pass them around among some of the moral-less men, as though they were nothing more than cheap entertainment. She looked so afraid that he worried that would be what people would assume. Poor thing. You're gonna be just fine. They walked through the town. It was a lot nicer here. The streets were large and roomy, and well-maintained trees lined the walkways. Most of the housing was tall apartment blocks, but they all looked to be a decent standard, clean and well-maintained. There was a park across the street, large and green open fields with beautiful trees dotted about, and a large pond with ducks floating on the water. It's a shame there's no goats. Right, Dry? Pond could have used 1 or 2 goats. The author's gonna listen to this and be like, what are you talking about? I beat you to it? Heh. That's right. Jay saw the girl looking at the park and wondered what she made of it. There wasn't a lot of green in Gromden. A lot of the area was industrial. The docks were there, and the factories and the steelworks. A lot of the cashiers found work in these places. Maya, well done. And now we move on to Bear Ridge. I don't know why it's called Bear Ridge, but here it is. Apparently the RPG is broken. How come? Seems fine. Is that air I'm feeling? Oh, goody. I can close my window.
Honk, noise, 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 honk.
Was that the thing that was all you had left, was the honk? Thank you so much. The way you contribute to society just makes me proud. A lot of the area was industrial. The docks were there, and the factories and the steelworks. A lot of the cashiers found work in these places. He tried again to make conversation with Adele. Beautiful, isn't it? He asked, gesturing to the park. The dungeon. That's a big dungeon. I know. Her body visibly jumped when he spoke, as though he'd caught her doing something she shouldn't have been. She averted her eyes from the park with one rapid movement and remained silent as she looked down at the ground in front of her. Jay let out a sigh, and again, in a quiet murmur, he told her, "It's okay. I'm not gonna hurt you." She didn't look up. Her eyes stayed firmly fixed on the ground ahead of them, her posture still in the same unnatural and rigid position. He considered telling her she didn't have to come with him if she didn't want to, telling her she still had the option to change her mind. But when he remembered how cold and wet they both were and how hungry she might be, she probably assumed the offer of help came with strings attached, but was so desperate she chose to come with him anyway. The thought made him sick. He was only trying to help the poor girl. But instead of feeling safe, she was anticipating being forced into having sex in exchange for food. No amount of telling her he wouldn't hurt her would make any difference. She would always be expecting it. Jay crossed the street and entered the park. Adele followed, still walking a couple of paces behind. She was almost silent when she walked, her feet barely making a sound. Even her breathing was silent, unlike Jay, who was a little out of shape these days and finding the long walk back home a bit of a challenge. She was so quiet he found himself looking back at her at regular intervals just to make sure she was still there. It's not much further now. Helstane is just at the other side of the park, he said, trying to keep his tone cheerful and friendly, hoping it would put her at ease a little. The rain had stopped again, and the sun was attempting to show itself. It was still bitterly cold, though. Jay was looking forward to getting home, just to get out of his wet clothes and get warmed up. His feet were freezing with no socks, but he reminded himself that at least he was wearing shoes. Wow. They hadn't entered far into the park when Jay spotted the man in the gray uniform. He noticed them straight away, and it looked to Jay as though he was speaking on his radio. The girl tensed at the sight of him as well. It's okay. I have my ID. If he asks, just tell him you're with me and nothing will happen. Her eyes shifted from the man in gray to Jay and back again. She didn't make a sound. Jay was beginning to wonder if she had some sort of mental health problem. Don't we all, Jay? Don't we all? A little bit of tea makes it feel better, though. On the inside. The man was walking over to them now with a strong and authoritative stride. He gave the air of importance and seemed like someone who wouldn't take any nonsense, though he was polite when he spoke to them and asked to see their identification. Jay handed the officer his card, and he scanned it with his small hand device. He asked for his thumbprint, and then asked him the personal security questions tied to his digital tag. Once he was satisfied that Jay was a legitimate citizen with every right to be in this area, the officer turned his attention to Adele. ID, please, miss, he said, polite and calm. Jay spoke on her behalf and said, she's with me. The officer looked the girl up and down and took in her scruffy appearance and lack of shoes. He looked back at Jay, then back to Adele. Miss, are you here of your own free will? He asked her, a gentle sort of kindness to his voice. Jay felt mortified. What did this guy think? He had kidnapped her or something? Her eyes locked onto the man's face as she spoke a single solitary, yes. She's my guest, right, Adele? Jay said with a friendly smile on his face. God.
Come and get it.
Jesse, that scared the crap out of me. What are you doing? Let me take a look. Gifting 5 subs. Jesse, you don't have to do that. But thank you. The Oral, Haikiri, Fluffy Bunnies, Chew, and Kinshirotia. I'm sure I said that right. Absolutely. Thank you for doing that. And now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now we're up to 14 spins of gains. That's wonderful. Thank you again. But I get to spin the wheel for you. What just happened? And you're gifting one to Angelic as well. You are just too freaking kind. Now it's at 15. Damn it all. Hey, look, I won. Nope, not kind enough. Okay, well, I'll be the judge of that, and I say you are. So, thank you. Seriously. Stick your tongue out at me. I know you just purchased a mug for yourself, but I'm still gonna spin it, and if you land on it, you're free to gift it to somebody else. Okay? Ready, set, spin. You landed on it. You landed on it. You get a mug. I gave the one I bought to Mom for her birthday. Sweet. So now I get to give you one. Well done. You got yourself a mug. Where's the picture of it? I swear I had a picture of it. Do I not have a picture of it? Okay, well, that's fine. We'll talk after, and we'll get that figured out. Oh, I should probably join and start the timer. So yeah. No, there's no goats swimming on it. That would be a really fun idea, though. I'm gonna jot that down in my mental memory bank. My head. Okay. Now I need to do the other. We're gonna spin this sucker 6 times. I mean, hopefully not, but up to 6 times. To see if you win the other thing. Okay, that was 1. 2. Well, that was pretty close. That was 3. Here comes number 4. Number 5. Yeah, it's like you're inching closer. Oh, okay, never mind. I just forget that sentence. And 6. Dang it. Well, hey, at least you won a mug. That's exciting. I'm really happy you won that. Thank you again for your generosity. That is above and beyond. I'm stoked. It's gonna be awesome, man. We'll figure that out later. 6 minutes. We're not gonna finish the chapter in time. So since we're in this moment of a pause, so to speak, I'm gonna run the ads to get them out of the way. And while the ads are running, since I have 15 gain spins to do, I will do some of those. Definitely, I have to go for a second, but we'll be right back. Okay. I'm going to start the ads. The ads are starting. Okay. The thing's going. Ads are going. Let's spin the wheel of games.
Streamer Picks X5.
Streamer picks times 5.
Push-ups X5.
Push-ups times 5. So I could do 10 push-ups. Spin one more time.
Weighted squats X5.
And weighted squats times 5. So 10 push-ups, 5 weighted squats. All right. Let's do this. Nailed it. All right. That was super kind. I'm glad to have done the workouts. Okay. Oh, I don't know if Jesse's back yet, but she won. Are the ads over? Yes, they are. Excellent. That means we can keep reading as soon as I remember where the heck we were. Minute 30 on the tickety-tock clock. Oh, that's right. He was saying, she's my guest, right? Cheerio. Here we go. He felt that if the officer knew he knew her name, then they would be more easily believed. He couldn't believe how dirty it made him feel, knowing what this man was thinking of him. So dirty. The officer didn't look convinced, but he had performed his duty. He had to take her answer at face value. The legitimate man was doing nothing wrong. Most boundary officers didn't even bother to ask. They turned a blind eye to the situations like this. Two situations like this. Not the situations. I'm fine. The officer stepped aside and gestured with one arm that told them they were free to go. Jay couldn't help but notice the uneasy look the man had on his face as they left. He wondered how responsible the officer felt for what might happen to the girl, or to the girls he let through here with wealthy, legitimate men. Jay hadn't considered how wet the grass would be after all the rain that had fallen. As they continued through the park, trudging over the sodden ground, it dawned on him how soaked this poor girl's socks would be, and how her feet would be icy cold. Yikes. But she showed no discomfort. She still hadn't spoken to him since the brief conversation at the abandoned building, and he was tired of trying to get a response out of her. So he kept his thoughts to himself. At the other end of the park, they emerged onto another street. There was housing across the road, large detached properties set back from the street with spacious and spotless gardens in the front, aka yards. It was a pleasant area, but Jay didn't live here. Hellstain was an upmarket part of town, and if you could afford one, the houses were fabulous. But Jay's budget would not stretch that far. He lived a little more central, in a more urban part of the area. Me too, bro. Me too. Suburban life for the win. Angelic, you're a touch behind on that play. But, you know, A for effort, you know? A for effort. Maybe you were distracted or something. Is it time? No. You were distracted? Well, that happens. He walked through the streets, Adele still following him. She's still startled at every noise. He had hoped she would have relaxed a little by now, but she was tense, like a coiled spring. Jay was hoping he didn't bump into anyone he knew. He'd been AWOL from work for 3 days, and now he was bringing a dirty-looking cashier to his house early in the morning, and he was filthy, sweaty, and reeked of vodka. It wouldn't exactly paint a wonderful picture. I didn't do anything? Okay. Bench press. All right. We've got about 4 or 5 pages. Then we'll do the bench press. As they walked past the children's home, he prayed Gabriella wouldn't be around to see him. He couldn't help but look for her as they passed by the school, but she wasn't there. There were some teenage children hanging around by the front gates, all dressed in their green blazers and gray skirts and trousers. They all wore the emblem of a sword pointing down through the 3 colored rings, and the tall flags positioned at either side of the main entrance to the school were the same. In other words, school uniform. Jay saw the girl's eyes sweep across the building and the flags, and he wondered if maybe she felt a stab of envy for the ones who were lucky enough to attend school and had the safety of a charity-backed home. Most cashiers didn't receive an education, only the lucky ones who were sponsored or taken in by charity programs. The government only want to invest in their legitimate citizens' futures. It was still around another 20 minutes before they reached Jay's Street. Most of the buildings here were tall apartment blocks, but there was a small convenience store on the corner and a coffee shop next door to it. And a bookfather winning another race. Ha ha ha. Well, there was only 3 of us, so my odds were better. Further down, there were bars and restaurants, and in the opposite direction, a bank. There has to be a bank. There's always a bank. Jay looked at the girl. Her agitation seemed to grow as her head jerked and her eyes darted in every direction, and she looked quite mad. It made him question if it was a good idea to invite her into his home after all. He walked up the steps to his building and held open the door for Adele. She entered in silence, offering him only a strange and disturbing look as she passed him. It made him feel uncomfortable, as though he was doing something wrong. It was warm inside, and he was pleased to be out of the chill of the cold outside air. He didn't wait for the elevator, but opted for the stairs instead, deciding that being in a small and confined space with him wouldn't do anything to help this girl relax. I don't think she's gonna relax, bud. She's gotta let it go. They reached his apartment, and he held open the door again for Adele. She stepped inside, and her eyes swept across the room. Jay's ears flamed with red-hot embarrassment, and he began to apologize for the state of his home. He had forgotten what a mess he had left it in. Empty beer bottles and cans littered most of the surfaces in the kitchen and covered the table. There was a half-eaten pizza still in its box on the floor by the sofa, and coffee cups and dirty dishes filled the sink. In normal circumstances, he wasn't such a slob, and if he'd known he was going to have company, he certainly wouldn't have allowed his house to get into this state. But as the anniversary of Tanya's death had approached, the grief hit like a tidal wave, knocking him back into the same pit of depression he had found himself in when she died so suddenly a year ago. He felt disgusted as he looked around. This girl probably kept a cleaner house, and there was a high chance she lived in the slums. Here, why don't you get warmed up? You can use the shower. It will help. If you leave your clothes by the door, I will get them dry, and you can borrow something of mine in the meantime. He pointed to the door towards the back of the apartment. She looked at him, and her eyes followed his hand. Would you like me to show you how to switch the water on? He didn't wait for a reply. He casually strode across the room and opened the bathroom door, letting out a silent hope he had left it in a half-decent state. She followed him into the small room, and he showed her how to adjust the temperature. I'll just be outside. Shout if you need anything, he said. Then, as an afterthought, he said, You don't need to worry. I won't try anything. Parents for dinner? Ooh, enjoy dinner. Enjoy din-dins. I hope it's yummy. He closed the door behind him as he left and hoped that she believed he wouldn't hurt her. He crossed the room, turned on the TV out of habit more than anything else, and began clearing up the mess of all the empty bottles and cans. He was halfway through washing the dishes when the news report caught his attention. Breaking news. There was a number flashing across the screen about how Angelic won the race. Just kidding. That's not the breaking news. Not even close. Don't you love it when you get random Discord friend requests and you're like, yep, I know for a fact that you are a spammer or someone that's just trying to sell me their services. There was a number flashing across the screen, and they were showing images of an explosion somewhere. At first, Jay thought it was a terrorist attack or a people's uprising again, but the news reporter was talking about something far more sinister. The words secret government organization and genetically modified human were being thrown around. I ignore a lot of people. Yes, me too. Like that one that I just ignored. Apparently, a building had been blown up. It was called Polygen, a government testing facility in Fairtalk where they carried out genetic experiments. At first, Jay thought it was a joke. It sounded so ludicrous. It was true that the government were very secretive, and they had complete control over all their legitimate citizens. And The country was more of a dictatorship than a democracy, but the authorities had always maintained that everything they did and the control they exercised over the population was for the good of the safety of the people. Jay wondered how human genetic experimentation would be of any good to the people of New America. Okay, now I go. Enjoy your noodles, or chicken, or beef, or sushi, or whatever it is you're gonna have. He turned his attention back to the news report. These individuals are identifiable by the code etched onto their skin, above the left wrist and on the back of the neck. It will resemble a barcode and looks like a tattoo. It is their only easily distinguishable feature. They have no specific race. They appear to be approximately 20 years of age, average height, with a small to medium build. If you spot one of these individuals, do not approach. The number flashed up on the screen again. We have specially trained government operatives who are equipped to deal with this particular threat. Once again, do not approach. Jay was dumbfounded. This was a surefire way to cause widespread panic. Why would they keep something like this top secret and then make it public once something had gone wrong? Yes, well, that's the government for you. The government owned the media. They told them what to report and what to keep buried, so there was no way the story got out by accident. Jay wondered if there would be another revolt of the people, but it seemed a little pointless when disagreeing with the government was not tolerated. Even making a harmless comment or joke online would have the authorities breathing down their necks and have them investigated for not being patriotic. And since there was no anonymity anymore because of a person's online presence was tied directly to their identity, they would always know if a person was making waves or causing trouble. People weren't allowed to express opinions, publicly disagree online, or report their own stories. The government only let out what they wanted people to know. They weren't a free nation, just sheep being herded into blind obedience. The government even put sanctions on technology in a bid to keep control over the population. There had been no technological advancements in the last 100 years or so, except of course for the spyware the authorities used to keep control of the people. They didn't want people to be able to think for themselves. Jay flicked through the channels on the TV. The story was on every single channel. The same information, the same number to call. It was as though they had every intention of trying to cause a panic. He didn't have time to worry about it right now, though. He was on a mission to help a poor cashier and prove to himself that he could be someone his deceased girlfriend would be proud of. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of Chapter 2. Classic dystopia? Yeah, basically. I mean, New America doesn't sound too far off the current one. All right. Jesse redeemed bench. So we shall bench. Let's make sure that I think I tested the camera before I started stream. Holy crap. I just Googled one of my books and AI generated information about it. Okay. Is something wrong? I hope not. Okay. When you start with holy crap, I only assume a problem. All right, y'all chat amongst yourselves. I'll be over here. Alrighty. I'm important enough to warrant AI having information on me. Curious what you typed or searched or something. Get out of here, giant dungeon goat turtle. Well said. Well said. So you went to Chat GPT and just typed in Obsidian's Fall? Oh. But then the AI answer came back with something, because I know Google has they've been adding that as like the top response. I wanted a quick way to get a screenshot of the cover. Gotcha. Yeah, please do. That'd be cool. Maya, well done. I know you're doing the dinner thing, but that was a good decision to join the last race that you could. All right. What are we on? Race number 10? Wonderful. Oh, okay. Yeah, I saw it. What you sent, I mean. That's cool. Makes me wonder what I might get in a search. I'm just gonna do a quick Google. Well, I don't see any like AI thing for mine, but that's okay. It's fine. Let me try a different book though, because that one may not have been. Yeah, let's do that one, and then Yeah, still no AI thing. Huh. All right, well, whatever. I'm glad you got something cool back, though. Stop Mama's Mama. Hi on my phone on the way back from an hour event. It's been a busy week. Sorry I missed a few streams. No worries. You are not entitled to be here. But gosh darn it, we love it when you are. I hope the event has been fun. Eventful. See what I did there? Eventful. These chapters are a lot longer than what we're used to reading, so I'm kind of having a hard time distinguishing the timing of everything. Let's see. Chapter 3 starts on page 30 and goes to 43, which I realize is only, 13 pages. However, it's not a 5.5 by 8 by any means. And we have commentary and whatnot in between, so. Mama's House Gaming. I'm so glad we're not chained to our chairs, unlike the stuff you read. What? Can you English that for me, please? So glad we're not chained to our chairs, unlike the stuff you read. I know I'm not firing in all cylinders today, so you may have to break that one down for me. They're suggesting in the stuff you read, there is light bondage. You said we're not required to be here. Right. Well, that's true. I mean, neither am I. I could just end stream right now and be like, peace. But where's the fun in that? And you read spicy novels from time to time. Time after time, we read. It's a novel. I'm gonna just stop that right there. Jesse, winning again. Look at you go. No, you are. If you shut down, Bezos would come for you. They would hunt you down like the traitor you are. You keep missing races again? Well, you're not going to win if you do that. Chapter 3, Wednesday, February 22nd, 2102. Branley, Harpton, Maine. Blue Origin would send a phallic rocket to your house. Well, that sucks. No worries, Jesse. Let's see. Gemma disembarked the train in Branley as though she was going to work. She had her cashier's work permit in her purse. It was a small card with her photo and her work address printed on it. It wasn't the same as a digital ID the government issued to legitimate citizens. It only gave her permission to be in the area for work purposes. She was dressed in her uniform, minus the apron and name badge. The white shirt and black trousers were the only set of smart clothing she owned, and she hoped it would draw less attention to her as she entered the city. It was still quite a distance to the city center from Branley, but without identification or a work permit specifying Harpton, Maine city center, she was unable to buy a travel token to get her there. Branley was still much closer than walking from Gromden. She felt self-conscious as she wandered through the streets, wondering if people knew she was committing a crime simply by being there. She passed by her workplace. The restaurant was still closed. It didn't open until 11. and she couldn't help but worry if Border Patrol stopped her, they would want to know why she was in the area so early. Maybe she could say it was delivery day or something. She held her head steady and tried not to look as she walked past a boundary patrol officer. There was a man on his knees, begging them to grant him access to his workplace, but he wasn't carrying his work permit, and he had no form of identification. He was desperate, almost crying, saying if he would lose his job if they didn't let him in. Well, that does sound pretty desperate. Oh, did the extra heal work? That's good. The guard didn't care. He hit the man across the face with his baton, and Gemma heard his yelp of pain before the guard's cold and uncaring voice boomed out. "You know the rules. No ID, no access." Me, big man. Gemma continued to walk on, knowing that if they stopped her in the city, she could expect the same treatment. As she drew closer, she could see the beautiful, shiny skyscrapers across the river. She loved the city, but she had never been here alone. She crossed the footbridge over the river and paused to look at the beauty of it. The river didn't look like this in Gromden. It was filthy. It was a filthy brown color and full of rubbish, and the occasional dead body. The river was wide here, and there were pristine white boats sailing along at a leisurely pace. There were men across the way, sat up on the riverbank fishing. Gemma wondered why they spent their days fishing in the river, if they weren't planning to eat the fish, especially on such a cold, wet, and dismal day. Danny had told her they do it for sport, but she couldn't get her head around it. When a catcher catches a fish, they wouldn't dream of letting it go, not when their families were starving. She walked along the footbridge, the wind whipping up and catching her umbrella, blowing her long, dark hair around and sticking it to her face. She hoped the umbrella wouldn't break. She'd only bought it a few weeks ago, and she couldn't afford a replacement. As she approached the other end of the bridge, she took a few deep breaths to steady her nerves. This was the city center. She was breaking the law. Breaking the law. Dude. Angelic, you won. Congratulations. Now we move along to the MSLA Raceway. Join if you dare. Did I? Nope, we're good. Didn't miss a thing. It's a good thing to talk about, that's for sure. What? I have a feeling Ashley Riveri has something to say about class disparity. Yeah, I imagine so. I mean, even in the United States, there's a lot of that going on. It just gets covered up. Hush, hush, and all that. She walked further into the city, through the major streets and roads. She was thankful she had been here so many times before with Danny, or she would have no hope of finding her way around. The roads were busy with traffic and noise, and she knew if she hadn't had so much experience of how to use the pedestrian crossings, she would be stuck, not knowing how to get across the roads. Nobody seemed to notice her as she walked along. She was doing a good job of blending in. She passed the billboards. They were always the same. The government was always trying to influence the legitimate citizens and vilify the refugees. One was reminding citizens to check strangers' identifications and report the presence of illegitimates and refugees in high-class areas. Another was advertising the new DigiPay systems and the huge discounts people could get for shopping online. It wasn't fair. It seemed to Gemma that the very few legitimate citizens needed discounts, yet online shopping and digital payment systems were only available for legitimate citizens. The government controlled everything, and you needed a digital ID to get online. It all makes sense now. Absolutely gets brushed over. Ren has a great new song that has the very subject at its core, Vincent's Tale. Songs and talking about it's nice, but action from a systemic level is really what's gonna make change. She finally arrived at the grid, which was what they called the area with all the skyscrapers. Gemma had never seen them this close before. A funny feeling hit her stomach as she stood and looked up, straining to see the tops of the buildings. She felt almost dizzy, and so impossibly small as she stared up at them. They looked beautiful from across the river where Danny lived, but here, so close to them, their sheer size felt unnerving, and being surrounded by them gave her a sense of claustrophobia. She tried to get her bearings. The building she needed was easy to spot from far away. But now she was in the middle of it all, and she was lost. She considered asking for directions, but then they might ask to see proof of her eligibility, and she didn't dare chance it. She meandered through the built-up city and tried not to draw attention to herself. The rain had stopped, and she packed her umbrella away in her plain, black shoulder bag. She stopped in a quiet space and redid her hair, trying to undo the damage of the wind and rain, and pulling it into what she hoped was a tidy-looking ponytail, praying she still looked smart enough to pass for a legitimate citizen. There were plenty of restaurants and bars here, though. Perhaps nobody would bother her if they thought she worked at one of those. She finally found the building she needed. It was beautiful, all glass-fronted and immaculately clean. It was a large building with several entrances, and it took her a few minutes to work out which door she should use. She took a few moments to collect herself. She didn't particularly enjoy confrontation, and Frank made her incredibly nervous. He always made her feel so worthless, and he was so condescending. He patronized her as though he thought she was stupid. Gemma walked as confidently as she could towards the door and pushed it, but it still didn't open. She tried it again, but it still didn't budge. There was a lady behind the reception desk looking at her, staring at her with an unfriendly expression. The woman made no move to acknowledge Gemma or open the door for her. Gemma looked from side to side and spotted the intercom system to the left of the door. She pressed the buzzer, and the bored-sounding voice of the receptionist came through the speaker. Yes. Gemma tried hard to sound confident as she spoke, but she was so sure her voice was as shaky as her legs as she said, Hello. I've got an appointment to see Frank Johnson. The receptionist eyed her through the glass. Name? It's Gemma. Gemma Fletcher. Gemma watched as a woman behind the desk tapped on her computer and then picked up the phone. The conversation was short, and a moment later, the door buzzed, and Gemma pushed it open. It was warm inside, and there was a pleasant smell of coffee and baked goods wafting through the air. She couldn't help but notice how beautiful it was inside the large and airy room. Oh, look. I seem to have done it again, with a win. I don't even know how I do it sometimes. I just click a button and off it goes. Yay me. You're right, it is rigged. Ha 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 ha. The main desk was curved into a crescent shape, giving a modern feel to it, and the floors were polished and shiny. Gemma's shoes made a click-clack sound as she walked across it. Everything about it screamed money and status, just like Catbox. Cat, it's lovely to see you. How are you? There was even abstract art displayed on the walls, and the lighting was artistic too. Large glass balls hanging down from the ceiling in a spiral shape over the desk, and two more further back lighting up the rest of the room. Gemma had never been inside Frank's workplace before, and she didn't know where she should go. She approached the desk to see if the unhelpful woman could direct her. I didn't know if I got in or not, so just in case. Yeah, I don't know why the names don't show up. They usually do. It's weird. Kat, are you done with your trip south, or is that still happening? I could not remember the timing. Just got home a bit ago, going to crash out here in a few. I'm glad you made it back. Yes, you deserve to crash out. I hope you get lots of rest. The receptionist flicked her long, straight blonde hair and gave Gemma a cool and unfriendly look. I don't appreciate being lied to. You don't have an appointment to see anyone, she said with a curt tone. The heat rose in Gemma's cheeks. She hadn't expected to be called out like that. The receptionist held out her hand with an expectant stare, and Gemma stared back at her in confusion. ID. The woman barked at her and shot her an impatient scowl. Gemma made a show of looking in her purse, but the receptionist wasn't buying it. She pressed a button under her desk. A portly, middle-aged security guard appeared and spoke to the woman. They were both discreet, but Gemma could still hear them. I think we have a cashier here. Get rid of it, will you? There, back home and on the laptop? I'm glad you're home. There's always something about home, is there not? Yep. Nice, clean home. The guard turned to Gemma. He was wearing a gray and black uniform and had a photo ID pinned to the top pocket of his shirt. Well, 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 if it isn't a rampage rhino. Good evening, sir. Pleasure to see you. I hope you're doing well, you and the bros. Come with me, miss, he said, and grabbed her by the arm with his pudgy fingers. Le gasp. It was a tight grip, firm enough to stop Gemma from getting free of him, but he wasn't unnecessarily rough with her, and there was a sort of gentleness.
Holy.
I love that clip. That's a great one. And there was a sort of gentleness to his voice when he spoke. He steered her past the reception desk and towards a plain side door. Gemma realized it would reflect badly on the business if people saw them removing immigrants from the premises. Her insides shriveled as the humiliation gripped her. She felt like she was something dirty and shameful. The receptionist smirked at Gemma as the guard led her away, but the smirk was soon wiped clean when Frank's booming voice pierced the quiet. "What is going on here?" The receptionist didn't miss a beat. She answered in a calm and almost bored voice. "She has no ID. I was only following procedures, sir." The security guard had eased his grip on Gemma as soon as Frank appeared. Gemma turned to face her boyfriend's father and saw him pin the receptionist with an icy stare. "I said I would see her," he said. His voice was both quiet and angry, and it made Gemma shiver with nerves. Like you all are, knowing I've won again. That's right. Fear me. For I am the Bookfather. He turned his attention to the security guard and said in a more placid tone, "I'll take it from here. Thank you, Malcolm." The guard gave an apologetic nod and a half smile to Gemma and turned to Frank to make his apology. "Sorry, sir. I thought I was doing the right thing." Frank pursed his lips as though he had something to say, but the guard's radio buzzed and he hurried away, no doubt thankful for the interruption. Gemma noted the scowl on Frank's face as he looked her up and down. He held his hand out in front of him and gestured for Gemma to follow. She knew Frank was an important man, but she didn't have a full understanding of what his work entailed, only that he was very wealthy and owned a lot of companies. A lot of companies indeed. They took the elevator in silence, and Gemma couldn't help but wonder if it was some sort of mind game to make her feel insecure, or if he just didn't want to speak to her. Once they reached the correct floor, Frank showed her to his office. It was not what Gemma had expected. It was a large room with double doors, and inside there was a small, curved glass desk with a middle-aged woman sitting behind it, and plush, purple chairs along the back wall, facing a fish tank full of different tropical fish. Frank walked past the lady at the desk and said, "I don't want to be interrupted. Any problems? Have Bilson handle it or take a message." It was only as he continued to walk that Gemma realized that this was where he had people wait to see him. He must be very important. And Jesse Wu, if I get whole chat on this, I can go all the... Oh, never mind, I died. So close. She hadn't spotted the double doors at the back of the room. This time, the doors opened into an enormous room with extravagant floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. She would have been impressed by the breathtaking view if she wasn't so nervous. Frank's desk was more enormous and immaculate. She noticed the framed picture of Danny, and next to it, one of the whole family. Himself with his wife, Michelle, Danny, and Lissy, Michelle's daughter. The sight of Danny's picture gave her some comfort. This wouldn't be an easy conversation. Frank closed the door and walked around to his chair behind the desk. He motioned for Gemma to sit in the chair opposite. She obediently took her seat, not knowing what else to do. There was a strong tension between them. The silence was almost painful on her ears. Frank was studying her with a careful interest, considering the best way to begin. Eventually, he cleared his throat and said in a business-like manner, "I take it you're here about my offer. What did we agree? 10,000, was it?" Gemma's face flushed crimson. How could this man think so low of her? She held her head high and met his eye as she slowly said, "We didn't agree on anything." Frank held her stare and sat back in his chair. Huh. $10,000 is a very generous offer, Gemma. I wasn't expecting greed. But what else should I expect from someone like you? Go on then. Name your price. Is my camera lurking that bad? Jeez. I don't want your money, she spat. I love Danny, and he loves me. Frank let out a mean and derisive laugh. Don't be a fool, Gemma. How long do you really think this relationship can last? Just like me winning another race. Is that 3 wins by Bookfather or no? Maybe the lag is your marbles cheat engine. I don't know how you figured it out, but I promise if you don't tell anybody, I'll make it worth your while. I'll let you kill more bugs than me in Helldivers. I know what you're up to. What do you think? That you can marry into my family and take half of Danny's fortune? Gain your citizenship and live comfortably for the rest of your days? It will not happen. I'm going to make sure it doesn't happen. You won't use him like that. Pay me in small, ornate boxes. We love each other. She spoke with a quiet sorrow. She wanted to shout and scream at him, but she simply wasn't able. He made her feel so insignificant. She knew her feelings didn't matter to him. Frank shook his head. You don't even know him. Not properly. She spoke with slow and concise words this time, as if Frank was an idiot. And I want to know why all of a sudden the music has stopped. Weird. We'll just do that instead. That's fine. I know everything about him. Frank's eyes snapped up and met Gemma's. He looked visibly shaken, but was quick to recover himself. He held her gaze for a minute, and then, with a forced calm, he asked, "What do you know?" She could tell he knew what she meant. "He told me everything," she said again, with emphasis on the last word. This was the first time she had ever seen Frank speechless. He stared at her with his mouth gaping open, and Gemma took her opportunity to continue. He loves me enough to share his biggest secret with me. He trusts me enough to share his secret. And here you are trying to pay me off like I'm nothing. Like I mean nothing to him. And why now? We've been seeing each other for years. Why are you suddenly trying to get rid of me? Frank didn't answer her question. Instead, he asked her, "What do you want, Gemma? Why did you come here? Look, I'll double my offer. 10 to leave and 10 to keep quiet about whatever it is he's told you." You're not listening, Frank. I'm not interested in your money. I love Danny. I came here to tell you to stick your money. I don't want it. His expression was one of pure disbelief. Then what do you want? All I want is for you to give me a chance. You don't even know me. You just assume I'm with Danny because he's rich. It's not like that. Emotion caused tears to form in her eyes, and her voice sounded unsteady. She was angry with herself for it and roughly brushed the tears away as they fell onto her cheeks. She continued on. We've been seeing each other for almost 3 years, and I've never asked him for anything. Not once. I've never asked you for anything. But you don't like me. You won't even give me a chance. You're an elitist. You don't like me because I'm poor or because I'm not a legitimate citizen. You treat me like I'm a criminal or something. But I'm a good person. I'm a better person than you. Money's the only reason I'd be with Danny? Facts, same. He can go date who he wants. Just give me my allowance. Is your marble a rolling book? I think it's the letter L. Yeah. Because that was the only letter I had, option I had. So. Frank didn't have an answer to that. He opened the top drawer of his desk in silence, pulled out a box of tissues, and handed her one. She took it and gently dabbed her eyes and wiped her nose. Once she had recovered herself a little, she said in a much calmer voice, "How do you think Danny would feel if he knew you had tried to buy me? If he knew you were interfering in his private life?" Gemma shook her head with deep sorrow and stood to leave. Frank seemed to panic, almost jumping to his feet, and shouted, Wait! Gemma! Are you going to tell him?" He sounded desperate. She turned back to look at him and gave him a sad smile as she shook her head. "Why do you think so badly of me, Frank? Why would I ever tell him about this? What makes you think I would ever want to hurt him like that? He thinks the world of you. He would feel so betrayed if I told him what you had tried to do today." Frank looked down in defeat, a guilty look on his face. Gemma hoped he felt as bad as she thought he should. Look, where are you going now? Back home?" His tone was gentler now, kind even. "Let me get you a car. You're not allowed in the city without a legitimate to vouch for you. I don't want you getting arrested. Besides, it's freezing outside." There it is, see? The letter L. Because it's in my name. It's a silent L. Yep. Ooh, is this the last race? Is
Hi,
Gemma...
Cat here. I'm just gonna sit in my box and watch the stream, if that's okay.
That sounds lovely. The book Father. Heading to my box, miss you guys. Sleep well, Cat. Is Gemma a class traitor? No, she's just looked down upon because she's, well, not a higher class. Not wanting to be petulant, she accepted his offer and thanked him. He pressed a button on his desk and a woman's voice spoke up. "Yes, Mr. Johnson?" "Felicity, I'd like you to organize a car, please, ASAP. Put it on my personal account." "Yes, sir." The line clicked off. Gemma realized the person he was speaking to was the middle-aged woman at the glass desk in the other room. She must be his personal assistant. She wondered what he was like to work for. "Can I get you something while you wait? Coffee? Tea?" He caught her off guard. She couldn't understand his sudden change or why he was being nice to her. "No, thank you. I'm fine." She tried to sound polite as she declined his offer and hoped she hadn't offended him. Gemma. He paused after he spoke her name, as though he wasn't sure how to phrase his next sentence. I'm sorry. It seems I have misjudged you. She was so taken aback she didn't know what to say, though her face must have said it for her, because Frank cleared his throat and looked uncomfortable as he averted his eyes from hers. He didn't strike her as someone who was used to admitting when he was wrong. I hope you realize all I was ever doing was trying to protect my son. I love him more than anyone will ever know. She met his eyes as she lifted her chin a fraction, her face set in steely determination as she answered, Me too. Frank nodded. It looked as though he was about to say something else when the phone on his desk buzzed and the receptionist's voice came through. Mr. Johnson? I expect this will be your car, he said to Gemma as he pressed the button. Yes. There's a phone call for you, sir. He said it was urgent. Get Bilson to handle it or take a message. I told you I didn't want interrupting. He snapped at her. She didn't seem fazed by his tone at all. Perhaps she was just as used to dealing with him, or she was just used to dealing with him. It's a Mr. Marcus Jensen. He said it was of a personal matter, and that you would most definitely want to take this call. Should I take a message? No. He almost shouted at her. No, please. Put him through. Thank you, Felicity. Frank picked up the call as soon as the phone rang. Gemma wandered over to the large windows overlooking the city and tried to look like she wasn't listening. It was hard not to hear, though. Kay taking the last race win. Shall we see who's taking the podium? Oh, look, Angelic. You snuck in there. Just zoom. That's a close shave to almost not being on the podium. In second place, moi, the bookfather. So who won? Let's find out. Jesse, first place win. Congratulations. Well done. There I was thinking Angelic had a close shave for third place, but it was an impressive one. Second and first, however, was a bit of a dance. Good night, Kay. I hope you sleep well. That seems off. Well, I don't know what to tell you. You're a winner. Looks like we've got what? About 4 pages left. Not too bad. How are we doing on ad timing? Oh, there's ads are going to start in like a minute, so I'm going to start them now. And we'll pause our reading. And while that happens, I'm going to eat this delicious wine gum. What is holy cow? Marbles spawn on timer. Random marbles will be spawned. Once all marbles are destroyed, game over. Interesting. I'm so confused. I have literally no idea what's happening right now. I did just hear a cow though. What the heck? Ooh. This is so weird. All right. Well, that was really bizarre. We're gonna quit. So weird. While we're still finishing the chapter, I'll just put on a random race here or there. How about that? That was so weird. Okay, 90 seconds. I have no idea. Not a clue. All right, where were we? Jensen, is everything okay? She heard him ask. She couldn't hear the other side of the conversation, but Frank sounded worried. No, I've been in the office all morning. I've not seen the news. If only I could spell. I mean, nerves, distractions, I get it. Gemma looked at the people down below. They look so small from up here and so carefree, just casually going about their day. Then she remembered she was in the city center. Those people were carefree, or at least they didn't have the same set of problems as the immigrants. Jensen, now isn't the best time to talk. Can we meet? Tell me when and where. I'll make it work. Gemma was still staring out of the window. Whatever the phone call was about, Frank certainly didn't want her overhearing it. She saw him scribbling on a piece of paper and watched him fold it up and put it in his jacket pocket. He flashed her an uneasy smile, then pressed the button again and said, Felicity, cancel all my appointments. Something unavoidable has come up. I'll be out of the office for the rest of the day. Yes, sir, she said in a businesslike manner. It sounded to Gemma like she had to deal with this type of thing often. A moment later, it buzzed yet again, and Felicity's voice came through the speaker. What now? He snapped at her. The car you ordered has arrived, sir. Gemma thought she was very professional. She didn't sound as though Frank's attitude bothered her in the slightest. Yes, sorry. Thank you, Felicity, he said hurriedly. He shot Gemma an expectant look as he stood from his chair. She allowed him to escort her to the front door and out to the car. He held open the door for her and she clambered in. He told the driver, "Take her wherever she needs to go." Gemma thanked him as she closed the door and watched him out of the window as the car drove away. She had never been in a chauffeured car alone before, and she wasn't sure what she should do. She didn't know if she was supposed to make conversation with the driver or sit in silence. Fortunately, the driver, who was used to ferrying people to and from Frank's office, was pleasant and chatty. "Where to, miss?" he asked, catching her eye and offering her a cheerful smile through the rear-view mirror. Gromden, please." There was a slight pause before the driver recovered himself and said, "Gromden, Cashtown?" Stop Mama's mama, winning the race. That familiar feeling of embarrassment and inferiority swept over her. "Yes," she mumbled. "Do you have an address or—" He trailed off, and she knew he didn't want to ask if she lived in the slums. She gave him the address of her house, thankful that she had an address to give. She knew she was lucky. She lived in a house with running water and electricity. It was more than most people in her situation had. If her landlord was caught illegally subletting to cashiers and paying for amenities on their behalf, he would be in some serious trouble. The driver was chatty and didn't seem to mind one bit that he was driving a cashier to Gromden. He talked about the weather, about working for Frank, about the city and the government and the state of the country, and how sorry he felt for all the immigrants. Gemma couldn't decide if he was being genuine or simply trying to sound like he cared. It was unusual for legitimates to be on their side. "Hey, did you see the news?" he asked, changing the subject. No, what happened?" She thought back to when Frank was on the phone. Hadn't he spoken about not seeing the news yet? "It's everywhere, literally everywhere. You can't miss it." He sounded excited now, as though he had some juicy piece of gossip he just had to share with someone. "The government has been doing experiments on humans, and now they've all escaped and blown up the science lab. And now they're telling the entire country to watch out because they're supposed to be really dangerous or something. I mean, what kind of world do we live in, really? They put sanctions and limits on our technology, keep us in the dark and say it's for our own good, yet they have advanced scientific breakthroughs, enough to make some sort of superhuman." What are you talking about?" Gemma couldn't quite believe what she was hearing. The driver continued on in the same excited tone, as though this was the most thrilling conversation he had ever had with anyone. "Or apparently they've been at it for years. They made them. Some sort of superhuman in case we had another war. And now they're out and they don't know where they are." The driver pressed a button and the radio came on. "I've been listening to it all morning. It's all they're playing over and over. Must be bad if they want everyone to know about it. They're saying these things are dangerous and that we're not supposed to approach them. But you wouldn't know if you met one unless you got close to it. They say that they look just like us. The only thing that's different about them is that they have a barcode tattooed on them or something." Gemma listened to the voice on the radio. It was on repeat, cycling through the same information. How there had been an explosion at the Polygen facility in the early hours of the morning. How a small number of experimental human soldiers had escaped and what to look for and how to identify them. The driver was still chuntering away about how there had been no technological advancements in the last century, and how come the government didn't want the people to know what was available in other countries. Stump Mama's mama winning again. You do this a lot, actually. You don't seem to fare too well in the lap races, but as soon as we switch over to the one race, you dominate. It's quite interesting. Mm-hmm. Goodness. Caught you by surprise, we have. Mm-hmm. This just proves my theory, though. It isn't that we haven't made any advancements in science. It's that the government doesn't want us to have the technology. They can't control us so easily if we have access to things the rest of the world probably have. I mean, communication tech hasn't moved in over 100 years, he said, pointing to his phone. And we're still driving cars with combustion engines. Yet they can make genetically modified humans? Gemma was only half listening to him and trying to concentrate on the news report. I don't understand, she said. The Polygen facility is in Fairtalk. There's nothing there but desert and scrubland for miles and miles. Why are they trying to cause a nationwide panic? They couldn't have got very far if it happened less than 12 hours ago. The driver caught her eye in the rearview mirror. How do you know what's in Fairtalk? Oh, puzzle's about to be finished. Although they're... Oh, there it is. Well done. Congratulations. You did it. What does it say? Wally? I was kind of hoping it would tell us if it was a cake or not. Either way, took some time, but I did it. Yes, you did. Well-deserved win there, sir. Good job. She changed the subject hastily. Frank said you would take me anywhere. She paused, not wanting to be cheeky. Would it be too much trouble to take me to Helston instead, please? Helston? That's a no-cash zone. Why would you possibly want to go to Helston? Because my boyfriend lives there. He's legitimate. In Helston? Your boyfriend lives in Helston. His attitude irritated Gemma. She gave him Danny's address, and the driver looked at her in disbelief. That's one of the most elite areas in the whole of Harpton, Maine. I can't take you there. Not without someone to vouch for you. Frank said to take me anywhere I wanted to go. I'd like to visit my boyfriend in Helston. The driver looked uneasy. What's your boyfriend's name? He asked. It was obvious he was expecting her to falter. She felt a deep sense of satisfaction, she said with a smile. Danny Johnson. Frank Johnson's son. So there. That was the conclusion of chapter 3. How many pages are we in now? 44 pages in. Not too shabby. No, that's Plant, so he's handling it up to the captain. Or wait, Wally, where he's aboard the Axiom, looking up at all the screens for the first time. Yeah, I think that kind of looks like the ship's floor. Either way, it's Wally. And either way, I still have half a cup of tea to drink. Oh, Chew, you still there? Jesse, your ball seems to be as tired as you are. I looked at that carrier game you sent me. Unfortunately, I don't think it's really something I would get into. At least, not yet. I'm not a fan of the lack of graphics for something like that. Yeah, I mean, it does interest me because I love drones and stuff like that, but it just doesn't pull me in. I don't get the that overwhelming feeling of, ooh, this looks fun. It looks more like work. Yeah. But I hope you do get, somebody to enjoy it with, because it definitely looks like one of those games where you need other people to really kind of do it all and do it well. What do you mean lack of graphics? Is in there kind of some... Yeah, I feel like it could have been better. It feels very old in that way. And therefore it just feels off-putting to me. But yeah. I mean, all I watched was the videos that they offered. Maybe if I saw some actual gameplay, I don't know. Understandable. Pretty simple aesthetic. Yeah, it looks like there's lots of controls and lots of things you have to learn, but yet the output of all of those things doesn't feel like it balances. Okay, let's see. Today is Sunday. Monday's a holiday for a lot of us, if you're in the United States at least. And then Tuesday, we will be back to reading this book. But for now, I need to find someone for us to raid. And Jesse, I will be reaching out to you. Need to make sure we get a mug to you ASAP. Congratulations on winning that, by the way. It's been wonderful to see you all. Thank you for the gifted subs, for just hanging out, and for you guys to sit here and listen to me read. It's never really something that I expect people to do, but yet here you are, proving me wrong. It means a lot to me. Okay. Let me see who's on right now. There seems to be a lot of people on. Thanks for reading in the stream. Absolutely. Thank you all for making it so wonderful. Thank you for the stream and for the mug. I appreciate it. I'm glad you won. It's great to see you win it. Force a hydrate. Christini. Delicious. Oh, and Thursday. Thursday is Helldivers because there's a new update coming out September 2nd. And so on Thursday, the 4th, we are definitely playing Helldivers. So that should be fun. But we're going to go raid Professor Petty. We don't typically get to to raid them. So please copy the message. I already have money in my Steam wallet reserved for the new war bonds. I did pick up the Halo one yesterday, so that was fun. I just wasn't pleased that it cost an extra 500. Didn't like that. You have to wash my hair September 2nd, but that's okay. Stream's on September 4th, so you'll be fine. But you know, I hope the hair washing goes well. All right. The raid has begun. Thank you again for being here, for hanging out. I greatly appreciate it. I will also get this updated, what you see here on the screen, so that Angelic and Johnny are both added to the wall, to the window, to the wall. Until then, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and have a wonderful night. It also doesn't have any super credits inside of the war bond too, right? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Good night, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Peace out.